5 years ago, Mary was a university student with a perfect life, or so it seemed. Her boyfriend, John, was wealthy and generous, paying her tuition and spoiling her with gifts. But she knew little about him, except that he was a law student living in Banana Island, Lagos. Despite dating for months, she had never been to his house. Their meetings were always in luxurious hotels. When Mary insisted on visiting his home, John reluctantly agreed. The mansion was enormous, guarded, and eerily quiet. The silence unnerved her, and the strange old cleaner never spoke. When Mary asked about his family, John gave her a chilling smile. "You'll meet them soon." One night, she woke to hear John's voice echoing as if speaking to unseen people. The next, she heard footsteps and whispers but couldn't move, her body paralyzed in terror. When she confronted him, John smiled and said, "Tonight, you'll meet my family. But once you do, you'll be mine forever." At midnight, John's body began to twist. His face melted, shifting into others. His skin turned dark and scaly until he transformed into a giant snake with glowing eyes. Shadows filled the room, moving like living creatures. In a voice both human and monstrous, he hissed, "I'm a jinn. I've taken many lives, but I love you. Now that you've seen my family, there's no escape." The shadows closed in, whispering in an ancient tongue. As Mary's vision blurred, she heard his final words, "You're mine. Forever." As Mary stood frozen in the dimly lit room, shadows swirled around her like a living storm. The air was thick and cold, making it hard for her to breathe. John, or the creature he had become, moved closer, his serpentine form slithering across the marble floor. His glowing, unblinking eyes bore into hers, and his voice echoed unnaturally. "You've seen my family," he said, his voice layered with a demonic undertone. "There's no going back now." Mary wanted to scream, to run, but her body betrayed her. She was paralyzed, her feet rooted to the spot. The shadows grew darker and thicker, and from them emerged figures, faceless, distorted shapes with glowing red eyes. They surrounded her, whispering in a language she couldn't understand, their voices like nails scraping on glass. "Let me go," Mary finally managed to whisper, tears streaming down her face. John laughed, a sound that was neither human nor snake-like but something far worse. "You are mine now, Mary. You chose to stay. You wanted the truth, and now you belong to me and my family." The faceless figures moved closer, their whispers growing louder. Mary could feel the air around her turn icy, her skin prickling with fear. John raised a hand, or what looked like a hand, and the shadows obeyed, grabbing her wrists and ankles. Their touch burned like fire, and she screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the void around her. John's snake form began to coil around her, his scales cold and rough against her skin. "You will be my bride," he hissed, his voice filled with cruel delight. "You will serve me forever. Your soul will feed my power, and you will join the others." Mary's eyes widened in horror as she noticed the faces of the shadows. They weren't just faceless beings, they were women. Dozens of them, their faces frozen in silent screams, their eyes empty and lifeless. She realized they were the others who had fallen into John's trap, now bound to him for eternity. "No!" Mary screamed, thrashing against the shadowy hands in John's tightening grip. But it was no use. The mansion seemed to come alive, the walls closing in, the floor beneath her feet cracking open to reveal a swirling, fiery abyss. "You should have left when you had the chance," John said, his voice dripping with malice. "Now you are one of us." With a final, desperate cry, Mary was dragged into the abyss, her body swallowed by the flames. The last thing she saw was John's monstrous face, twisted into a wicked smile, and the shadowy figures of the other women reaching for her, their whispers now turning to haunting laughter. The mansion grew silent once more. Outside, the security guard stood motionless, and the old cleaner continued sweeping as if nothing had happened. Mary was never seen again, her disappearance became another mystery in the stories of Banana Island. The mansion remained, its secrets hidden behind its grand walls, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim to walk through its gates. And John? He was still there waiting for his next bride.